To Cowboys-Rams in a second, but first, back to last night's game, Justin Ross, a native of Alabama, plays for Clemson. Nice one-handed grab, CC.
Oh, he was nasty last night. Very impressed. Not only his catching ability, man, his route running, his overall speed, and being one of the top players and leaving the state of Alabama, let you know he had a lot of confidence in his ability to go to South Carolina and play for Clemson.
And he had the play that ended the game, essentially, the 76-yard touchdown that blew the game wide open.
Yeah, that was one of them. That blitz, that corner blitz that hit two around his midsection.
That one helped too. Yeah.
Super sophomore De'Aaron Fox explodes. Nasty dunk right here. He got teed up afterwards.
I am so happy for his development and for this kid. Was such a nice young man following on the AAU basketball circuit in Houston. Was great at Kentucky and was underwhelming his rookie year in kind of the basketball abyss of Sacramento. He has been so good for one of the surprising teams in the NBA this year, the Kings, still hovering right around 500.
Moving on to New Orleans, 7-footer Anthony Davis breaks out the sham god, Nick.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, a little in and out. That's the sham god move. Watch him go in and out. He's got the ball in his left hand, puts it in his right, in and out. You're not going to see a guy 6'11" be able to do that.
So we saw, last week we saw Joel Embiid do the Euro step from the top of the key to get to the bucket. Now we see Anthony Davis doing a sham god from right around the free throw line extended. And the skill of these big men.
Lastly, play
Special.
tonight. James Harden.
Oh, no.
Nasty behind the back move and splashes the three. Poor Jamal Murray.
He did this to someone last year en route to winning the MVP and then looked at him. I can't remember the player. Someone else.
Yeah, this
Wes
was a little
Johnson.
more of the floor in Houston.
Yeah.
There really wasn't a move here that sent him. You see he lost his footing on his left foot. And then watch the bench. Chris Paul and the bench. Chris Paul had his mouth open. He was like Draymond on the side, like, oh, my goodness.
Down night for Harden. Only 32.
Slow start.
Only 32 points and 14 assists. It's a down night this month. Yeah.
Back to the NFL now. The Rams enjoyed their bye last week, waiting to see who they'd host in the division round this weekend. Turns out it'll be a hot Cowboys team led by a quarterback in Dak Prescott with a ton of confidence right now, and a running back in Ezekiel Elliott who's been great all season. In fact, this game could very well come down to a battle of the two best running backs in the NFL, with Zeke and Todd Gurley. And head coach Sean McVay says the two have a lot in common.
When you look at Zeke, I think he's, similar to Todd, one of the most complete backs in the league, extremely productive. I think he's got the ability to go through you or go around you with speed. He's gotten a lot more involved in the pass game this year. I think he's truly a complete back, and you could see that, a lot of what they do is predicated on, just him getting a bunch of touches.
It's interesting. We've seen this season that both of these young third-year quarterbacks, oftentimes their game goes as their running backs seem to go. How much differently are Zeke and Gurley, CC, used by their respective teams?
Man, they're used. They are the focal point of that offense, but just used in a variety of different ways. Zeke is the traditional eye tailback. This year, having more productivity as a receiver out of the backfield, so having his best year as a receiver, as a complete running back. Coming out of college, didn't know that at Ohio State because they didn't throw the ball to him. And, they ran a college, a veer-type system with the quarterback in the shotgun, but he is the most dominant running back between the tackles. I believe he's the best pure runner of the football. And he, because of carries and volume, you have to put a number of people in the box. So he's going to force you to commit 7 guys to that line of scrimmage, which opens up coverage on the outside. On the other side, Sean McVay, what they like to do, a lot of motion, a lot of things, but at the end of the day, they want to run the ball between the tackles with Todd Gurley. But a lot of it is window dressing just to make things to set up their passing game. So Todd Gurley, just through the way they run their running game, setting up their play action. Ezekiel Elliott, because they're going to run him 20 times, and then when he touches it 20 times, they're unstoppable. They set up the passing game different ways, but both of them utilize very, very successful for these offenses.
The Rams and Sean McVay are the way they use Todd Gurley. It's almost like a good magician, like trying to make you look at a bunch of different places as opposed to where you should be looking. They do so much of that window dressing just to get the defense's attention briefly off the best player on the field, which is Todd Gurley, and they want to get him the ball. Both of these teams have this in common. This year, the Cowboys, when Zeke has 20 or more carries, they're 7-0. Over the last 2 years, the Rams, when Gurley has 20 or more touches, they're 17-1. So the reason it's carries versus touches is because Gurley is more of a guy that will catch more passes out of the backfield, at least in his career up until this season before Zeke added that to his game. These are your two best backs in football. It's a matter of taste. Do you prefer a guy that is more traditional in the sense of, I'll say Earl Campbell almost, and a guy that's just going to, you're going to I formation, hand it to him, Adrian Peterson, and maybe a better contemporary
because
example.
of the speed.
Because of the speed and the ability, like, not going to catch a lot of passes, and Zeke's done better at that this year, but you know what he's going to do. Or in a guy like Todd Gurley, who is, to me, more of a modern-day, almost Marshall Faulk, which is he can beat you a bunch of different ways. Not quite the receiver Faulk was, but really dynamic and a great athlete. Both of these guys have to have a great game on Sunday, or Saturday night, pardon me, for their team to have the best chance to win. For the Cowboys, it's to have any chance to win.
I was just going to say, the Rams can take more chances if Gurley either isn't getting as many touches or isn't finding as much success. The Cowboys need Zeke to play well. They need him to help set up Dak, right, for what he's going to do. I guess you could say the Rams have more, would you say they have more weapons on offense?
They have more weapons, but I have to disagree with you just a little bit. Todd Gurley, if he doesn't have a big day in the Coliseum, they will lose. Now, he's going against a better run defense, and I expect them to be able to hold his numbers down. But Todd Gurley, man, if he's not touching the ball 22 times in this game, no, they don't have the guys. Yeah, Foster's a nice receiver. Cook's a good receiver, but they're not going to dominate the game. They're not going to take over the game, and they have missed Cooper Kupp in that slot. Their overall productivity, if you take away those 48 points they scored in week number 17, man, they're getting around 3 touchdowns in those 3 or 4 games leading up to that. So this Rams team that we saw late in the season, it was not the Rams team that we saw the first 2 months of the season.
And to me, the most interesting part of this football game is going to be for the national audience to see, is this Rams defense actually good? This offseason, when you think about the big acquisitions they made, yes, they traded for Brandon Cooks. But their big acquisitions were on defense. They brought in Aqib Talib. They brought in Marcus Peters. They brought in Ndamukong Suh. They retain Aaron Donald on a huge deal. They trade midseason for Dante Fowler. They have the personnel to be better than they've been defensively. Now, I know some people, I like Wade Phillips a lot, and I know Wade Phillips very well, their defensive coordinator. His history says his defense is in year 1 pop, in year 2 regress a bit, and then recover in year 3. We're in year 2, but this is a critical year 2. This team was one and done in the postseason last year. Didn't have to be. They end up they're at home now. They're off a bye. I'm confident that the offense is going to be at least okay against this Cowboys defense, as good as the Cowboys defense is, because I think they have enough different ways to put points up on the board. Even when they were slowed, they were still scoring an average of 20 points a game going into week 17. I want to see if this defense gets gashed by Zeke, because all year long they have struggled stopping the run, despite having Donald and Suh up the middle, which would make you think you shouldn't struggle stopping the run. Maybe struggle edge pass rush, but I never thought this team would be awful against the run up the middle.
Yeah, another thing I want fans to watch and listen for in the telecast in the game is listen for the crowd noise. Because I believe that Dallas will have at least equal footing in the Coliseum. A lot of Cowboys fans in Southern California. The fan base in L.A. is growing for football with the Chargers and the Rams. They should be as excited about football like no other time. Watch for the crowd noise. So if they get that running game going of the Cowboys, Zeke gets to eating, those fans. Just why I have never seen a team with a number 2 seed that did not have home field advantage playing at home.
Yeah.
And I believe that's going to be an intriguing storyline to this game this weekend.
I want to throw one curveball question at you. I didn't ask you about this before the show.
Yeah, no problem. I can hit the curve.
Okay, assuming good weather, which is a good assumption in Southern California, and the weather report says good weather, does that favor one team or the other, one quarterback or the other? Is that about a neutral situation?
No, it's neutral. As far as these offenses, the way they're running, yes. I would consider that to be not a factor in this game.
All right, let's take a break.
That wasn't a curveball. That was a straight fastball.
No problem.
Coming up, fourth-teamer. Could Dwayne
Told you it was
Haskins
a
go
curve.
#1 overall? That's next on First Things First.